As editor-in-chief of Package Design magazine, I speak with some of the most brilliant thought leaders in the design, branding, and marketing of consumer packaged goods. Through the generous support of our sponsors, we bring these experiences to you. This video series explores what inspires these thought leaders and their insights on the collaborative design process as a strategic business competence. I'm Linda Casey, and this is Package Design Matters. How did you learn about business strategy and tying design into business strategy?
I think that really just comes through experience. I mean, we all go to college to learn the design profession, to learn the different techniques. But then throughout my career, and like many of my peers, you learn about the other parts of business and how to make design relevant, because developing a product or a package or whatever it might be it's a team sport. So you need lots of different functions and expertises to make that successful. So design's part of a bigger picture, and you need to understand other people's goals and ways of working as much as you are there to educate them to the role of design.
If a picture is worth 1,000 words, then what's worth 1,000 pictures? A prototype or a mock-up? It must answer questions like, how does the product work? How does it feel in your hand? How does it communicate the brand experience? A print is just a flat image of an idea, but the true experience is always three-dimensional. Who thinks like this?
And you've done something pretty huge to facilitate
big. Absolutely.
that. The Design Center. Can you tell our audience a little bit about it?
Yeah, so the Design Center within Newell Rubbermaid is a really exciting new venture. It's actually only been open for about 18 months now. It was conceived by our CEO and our executive leadership team, and it really brings together all the design talent within the entire organization into one central hub. So we've built this physical building in Michigan. It houses about 100 designers from multiple different backgrounds: industrial design, graphic design, human factors, usability, color and trend, design planning and strategy, prototyping. So you've got all this talent in one roof, serving all the different brands across the portfolio. So to make that investment and to see the power of design and to make this really a melting pot for design and innovation and creativity for our brands is a really huge commitment, and really exciting for those to be part of it.
Brand narration and visual translation is a keystone service of product ventures that grounds design in a clear strategic vision before putting pen to paper. True to the saying, a picture speaks 1,000 words, we identify what needs to be said and how best to say it visually so that we can most effectively resonate with the consumer. By leveraging design in this thoughtful manner, we make the most of the precious few seconds at shelf by communicating the brand and product proposition in a resounding way that is not only aesthetically desirable, but also strategically aligned.
So can you share with our audience a project that benefited from the collaboration between all these different disciplines under one roof?
Sure. It's not really just one project. It's almost every single project is doing that now. But for example, in our portfolio, we have a tools business, and we also have a baby business with Graco and now Baby Jogger and Aprika in Asia and Teutonia. So when you think about those two businesses, they're not two that you naturally put together, you know, babies and tools. But in the soft goods side, the fashion side of it, we've got people doing patterns and sewing that are making soft-sided tool bags, but they're also making the fabrics for car seats and strollers and you know, baby products. So that ability to cross-pollinate, share ideas, share best practices is an obvious one. You know, other ones in terms of, you know, fashion, what's going on in fashion in the baby business might not necessarily link directly to what's going on within creative writing or luxury writing brands, but subscribing to one color and trend organization or going to the same conferences, all that information comes back to one central hub again, and it's able to be shared. So it's really good.
At the start of a project where it's a blank piece of paper and the problem seems a pretty challenging one, how do we get inspired is, I think, a really useful question to get something from an idea or a concept all the way into manufacture. It is a team process, it's a very collaborative process. It's really about the collective, and that is the powerful piece. One person with one idea plus one person with another idea is potentially 3 and beyond really good ideas. We're delighted to have our name attached to such an incredible list of contributors.
Yeah, and it's interesting you brought up cross-pollination, because that's always such a big important part of what we do in design,
right.
Especially with so many CPGs that are so focused on
right.
a certain vertical. They don't have the benefit, they have to look outside their industry. Right. Could you let our audience know a little bit more about the breadth of products? Because I know that I don't have a complete understanding right. of the breadth of product, because it's so wide.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the CEO's growth game plan is referred to, and you know that's quite widely publicized, and that's taking the company from almost a holding company with these 20 plus different brands or different businesses with different brands within them and different business units, and bringing it into more of an operating company where we now have a centralized marketing and insights group, we now have a centralized design and R&D group, etc. So when you bring those groups together, that cross-pollination is just enabled by the structure. So structure, you know, strategy drives structure, but structure enables the strategy. So again, it's really nice to have everybody under one roof and to be able to sharing that. It's good for the business, but it's good for individual designers as well, because their career paths have really opened up. If you were a designer working in one business, maybe there were 2 or 3 of you, your career path was fairly limited. Your exposure to broad trends in design, or software trends or fashion trends or whatever's going on, it's limited. But now that we're all together, you've got 100 creative minds. So again, it's really good for the business and it's great for the individuals.
We live in a fast-changing digital world. Dynamic communication and social expression influence just about everything we do. Business is digital. Impact is instant. Brands and customers interact in amazing new ways. From postage stamps to packaging and billboards, HP's Graphic Solutions business is leading these transformations, creating innovative digital print technologies that enable more effective, engaging communication between brands and end users.
And it must make it a lot easier to help your team stay fresh and innovative.
Yeah, again, it really does. I mean, you sort of think it should, but just because you think it should doesn't mean it actually will. But then having now lived that for, again, over a year, you really see it happening. I mean, to have large, we call them immersion rooms, large rooms where we can put up projects and just leave them up and have different groups come in and see them and critique them. With an outside perspective, they're designers, but they're not working on that project. They can be critical, but it's in a safe environment as well, where we can expose new ideas that maybe aren't fully thought out. So, again, a great benefit. It's like a consultancy, but an in-house. So the consultancies, you often work on things at a certain point or at a very early stage, but you don't get to see them through. But you get the breadth of projects. Well, with Newell Rubbermaid, with all the segments and all the brands, but under one roof, you really have almost the best of both worlds. So it's fantastic.
Do you believe a stronger idea can lift an entire business? Or that a single insight can spark new ways to succeed? At Bemis, we believe there's always a better way to boost consumer demand, stand out on the shelf, or create a deeper brand experience. Today, we strive to see the world as you see it. And when that happens, there's no limit to where you can take your packaging or your business.
What makes a person the right talent? What do you look for? What are the top 3 characteristics in an employee, in a candidate that you look for?
Okay. I mean, it varies, obviously, depending on the particular role. But I would say you really want someone who's joining the broader team. The nice thing about having this central hub is that people have career paths and they can grow. So you really don't want to necessarily, unless they're absolute top class in one particular subject and one particular product category that makes them the unique and perfect fit for that, you're really looking for somebody who's got trajectory and runway. So yes, they can come in, they can bring some value, but they can also learn and they can grow inside the team. So we're really building we're building a competency, so that requires hiring people and having them bring something, having them learn, but having them grow and give back. And so it's an organic organization which has its challenges, but it's really exciting.
How do you help your employees grow? It's something that I've read from others that you are really good at, is taking someone and helping them grow the best attributes, their best skills.
It's the type of people you have you've got to want to grow yourself, right? It's not just someone saying we're going to grow you. So it's finding people that are curious, finding people that are not afraid to ask tough questions, finding people that will challenge orthodoxies. So having all of that and allowing a space for it to happen, but then also knowing there's a time when it's not just about pushing back and being curious and questioning everything. At some point, just like the design process, you need to stop diverging and start converging. So it's that balance of freedom, but also, this is a corporation. This is not an educational establishment. It's not a charity. We have to deliver the bottom line as well. So again, I think it's about a skill in design is understanding the motivations of the individual requesting it, or what they're asking for, as well as the broader goals of maybe what the business is trying to do, or maybe what's right for society, or the higher level goals. So you've got to balance those things and understand different people's perspectives, and then lay out options and scenarios, and then as a team make the necessary decisions to move it forward. I think as a designer, you have to know what your subject matter expertise is and what you stand for, and have a clear point of view on that, and have responsibility for that. So in design, I trust my aesthetic judgments much more than I would trust somebody else's. I trust their financial judgments much more than I would trust my own. Sort of broad stereotype there. But you have to know what you're good at, and you have to know what others are good at, and then you have to collaborate. It's, again, I don't think you go into the design profession because it's per se easy. You go into it because it's about problem solving, and first and foremost is what is the big goal of this project or this program or this strategy. And as long as you keep that front and center as you move through the numerous iterations and come back at the end and say, yes, we addressed that problem, that was the right problem, and we addressed it clearly, and we haven't been nibbled to death by ducks, as they say, in the process. You get to the end there, and you have something that you can stand beside and go, yeah, that's a really compelling design. It's we like to use the phrase better, different, worth it. It's better in the sense of it's better looking, it's better made, craftsmanship, and it's better to use. It's different in the sense that, yes, it stands out from, it does stand out from the crowd. It's recognizable, it has an identity. You can recall it to a friend, or you'd cross the street to buy it, but it's not different for different sake. Just for the sake of it, it has to be relevant, and it's worth it, again, because there's worth it to the customer and the worth it to the business. So those simple sort of checks and balances: is it better, different, and worth it? And if you're not sure, or you don't have a clear point of view on that, then I think you need to keep working. In design, we tend to talk about there's product, there's packaging, but there's also merchandising and advertising. And if you think about the consumer, they see those four, and we call it 360 integrated solutions. First and foremost, you probably see an advert right, for something, or you see it in store merchandising. So the story that you experience there. Now, whether it's an online advert or an online shopping experience or a printer or, in a store, it's the same objective. It's just a different medium that is being dealt with. So you have to adjust for that. But the same goals exist there. So again, advertising, merchandising, and the bit that we're responsible for in the design group is product and packaging. But we want to make sure that whole experience is integrated. So that again requires close collaboration. It's huge. I mean, absolutely huge. And previously when I referred to the term product, I use that in the broadest sense. So a product is a piece of packaging. It's a plastic metal object. It's a UI, an interface. It's a space, a retail space. So that's when we're designing a product. That's what we tend to, we just use the term product. But packaging's huge. I mean, if you look at our portfolio, the types of brands that we have. Packaging plays a tremendous part in conveying what that product is at point of sale. In many cases, it is our primary form of advertising. Yes, there is some TV campaigns, and that's growing, but the packaging is that, and often the product is inside that packaging, or at least part of it. So, and shelf space is limited, and the market is incredibly competitive. So, being able to see from 30 feet away, from 5 feet away, and then in your hand, what this does and why it matters is packaging's critical to that. So again, you're just trying to understand the consumer's need, understand the retailer's need, promote your own benefits. And again, that's why I think I and many of my colleagues love design. You get to lay out all the pieces, and you get to sort of form patterns and come up with multiple solutions that you then evaluate and decide which is the right way to go. But it's nice. I mean, even in writing, for example, you've got an impulse buy like Mr. Sketch or a Sharpie, but we've got fine writing, luxury brands like Parker and Rotary and Waterman. I mean, several $100 pens. It's a whole different experience. It's a gift-giving experience. The package, quite honestly, is just like cosmetics and food. That package is doing almost more than the product, or certainly equal to the product in terms of what it's conveying. This is a gift to you. I want you to enjoy the gift of giving, but I want you to enjoy the gift of receiving, and unpacking that and seeing the quality that's gone into the package, reading the history of the company, having it not. I mean, there's so many bad examples out there that of packaging in many industries that I think it doesn't take. In many cases, it doesn't take always a lot to come up with something that's radically improved. Now, when you see great packaging, it really stands out, and you love it, and it attracts you to the product. So. Back to your question, how important is packaging? It's critical.
Can you tell me about a project from throughout your career, not just at Newell Rubbermaid, that you're especially proud of?
Sure. I mean, I think all projects you want to be proud of, and you reflect at the end. I think did we make a difference? So it's hard to think of one specifically. One it's one that's ongoing right now. So I can't say too much about it, but I mean the team that are working on it, it's around our fine writing business, and again, as I mentioned before, the role of packaging and luxury and the sort of that unveiling and storytelling that can go with a package of that nature is really exciting, and how that's also linked to the retail environment, how that's linked to some of the print and online advertising that will come with that as well. The package and the product and the color story, the materials, the finishes, it's all coming together really nicely. So I think that's the nicest thing that you see is it's a strategic project. It's a cross-functional team that are working really well together. It's got real time and budget constraints which keep you focused. But the outcomes that we're seeing and some of the early test results that we've got back are really positive. So I'm super excited to see that one go to market.
Did I hear you correctly? Did you just advocate and say that the time and budget constraints were a good thing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because if you don't, I think that's, you need a plan, right? This is the period in which we're going to explore and come up with ideas, but at a certain point we're going to lock down and start to refine and ensure that the quality and that initial idea is delivered to the level we want it to. Now, I'm not saying when I say having a constraint is a good thing, it doesn't mean it's not saying that you have no time. It's saying you have the right amount of time and it's constrained, so you don't wander on forever, going on and on and on. I mean, you can overthink ideas as well, I think, and you can overwork things, a bit like cooking or baking or something like that, really, right? You can overcook something. So I'm a big believer in having a clear schedule, and you know, it forces you to work to a deadline. Although, as most designers know, you leave it till the last minute anyway. It's the nature of the beast. You know, if you finish early, you haven't worked hard enough, so you keep going.
Yeah.
But no, absolutely, you need constraints.
Definitely. And the constraints, and then obviously the constraints and the freedom and the collaboration. And
Yep.
so that's wonderful.
Yep. Yeah, no, so that's one. But I would say, again, you know, as a design team, the nice thing, as an executive team, they get together every month and review every single project and every single piece of packaging that's new. I mean, derivatives and things don't need to be reviewed at that level, but anything that's new is reviewed by the executive team at a standing monthly meeting, which is huge. That tells you that the senior leadership team is actively engaged and passionate and cares about, obviously, the product that's going out the door. So that's huge. And then as working teams, we get together a couple of times a month to review progress as well, or as need basis. So you've got the constraint of the network, but you've also got these nice reviews with senior sponsors that are, you know, making sure that you haven't lost intent, or if you need more time, that can be provided as well.
What do you do outside of work to keep yourself fresh and innovative?
You know, that's again the nice thing about having a large team, different backgrounds, different perspectives, is that there's always somebody doing something for the community in the area, or for the design education at large, or having guest speakers come in. So we recently sponsored Design for America, which is a student project out of Northwestern, but it runs with about 35 different universities in the US, can apply, and they have different students work on a project of our choosing. So we'll do that, and that was great to have those students be given a brief, to have members of our team do online critiques every other week, so video conferences with all these students, and all. I mean, technology allows that to happen so easily. So that's great. So working with students, sponsoring programs such as that, intern programs. We've had we've only been open again, you know, a year and a half. We've already had 5+ interns come in and work on different programs, one of which we've already hired. So that's great as a way of feeding new blood and fresh ideas into the organization. What else? Guest speakers, you know, having guest speakers come in, national and international speakers come in and speak to the group. Again, we don't really have an auditorium space, but we have a large kitchen with a huge table. It's like a big breakfast table that folks can gather around. So having people come in, we've had our board of directors come and visit on 2 occasions now. So it's nice to have that level of involvement at the design center, seeing what we're doing, giving feedback on how we're doing. It's great. So I think for the design team, on an individual level, how they stay creative, as a team, how we stay connected, and then as a function, how we stay connected and relevant and keep driving ourselves forward. There's plenty of options, probably more things that we've yet to do than we've already done a lot so far.
And you as an individual, what do you do to refine your creative and collaborative skills? Like, do you play sports? Do you have a hobby?
I have a hobby, yes. Yeah, you know, it's sort of a late in life hobby for me, but I got into cycling. I like to cycle. So that's what I like to do, and I like it almost because it's a very, it's a solo event. You can just go away and think, but you can also do it in groups, so you can chat and you can switch off. There's absolutely no technology. You can't really use your phone while doing it, so it's a great area to switch off. It's also very sort of mechanical. You can see all the working parts. It's you know, for me it works, so that's what I like to do. But all that did was gave me a passion for design and bicycles. So I think when you work in design, you never really leave it. You just transfer that love of innovation and ideas and objects and beauty and the process of making things that are useful and beautiful. You just transfer that onto your other hobbies or pastimes. So